Now, joining us for discussion is Asanda Ngoasheng, a political analyst, as we unpack the ANC's path to the local government elections next year. Asanda, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. What do you make of their chances? I mean, things have just looked awry for quite some time.
Thank you so much for having me. I think, the ANC has continued to defy odds, with many people saying that it's going to lose each election since about 2019. And somehow they've managed to survive. And I think that, a big part of that is because of the people on the ground, particularly their councillors who are spending their everyday lives with the people of South Africa. I think that, a lot of the national issues of corruption in particular, the lack of governance and the lack of service delivery happens from a national level and then cascades into a bad taste in the mouth for South Africans at a local government level. So I think that they're likely to not get as high a percentage, but I think they're still going to make quite a big showing because the ANC still has a lot of support despite the issues of corruption and the many other issues that South Africans complain about every day.
Yeah, so is there sufficient groundwork being put in place already? Because that, as you said, that was their stronghold. Their strength came in numbers and their ability to go out and actually recruit a whole lot more. But now, even the ANC councillors themselves are saying this is becoming too difficult a job. Is the groundwork there?
Well, I think, the less money the ANC has, the more difficult it becomes for that groundwork to be done, particularly in terms of new member recruitment, as well as in terms of recruiting people to vote for the African National Congress. And so this is going to be one of their toughest elections yet. I think 2029 will be even tougher. But in terms of local government, this is going to be one of their toughest elections because they're coming out of one of the first local government elections where the ANC was beaten in many areas where it previously, considered those areas as their strongholds. And this is the first election, in terms of post-national election, where the ANC isn't governing at the size and at the majority that it used to across all provinces. And so their popularity is at its weakest. And it's going to be, unfortunately, up to these councillors to do the heavy lifting of ensuring that people continue to believe in this political party. And of course, they're going to use their institutional memory. And of course, they're going to use the fact that, they've been around since 1912 and people have voted for them and have a deep level of loyalty still in South Africa, despite their lack of service delivery, despite the high, spread of corruption, particularly by the biggest leaders.
Despite the actual leadership of the party, as you said, this leadership, is there a lack of leadership within the ANC? Somebody who actually drives the message home a little bit clearer than previous years, where it looks like they're all galvanized around one person. Has President Cyril Ramaphosa been able to do that? Has Fikile Mbalula been able to rally the party sufficiently after what was, one must say, a sore defeat in the national elections?
Well, I think Fikile Mbalula is one of the weakest Secretary Generals that the ANC has ever had. But you're talking about a person who has never had a job. His only job has ever been to be a politician. And so he doesn't actually have the experience that was required in this role. And I think they gave him this role because he seemed to, at some point, connect with young people, with young voters. But what they've forgotten is that the man is in his 50s. He hasn't been a young person in many years. And so even his so-called stronghold, which is bringing in young people, he has failed at that and will continue to fail at that because he's out of touch with the very constituency that he's supposed to bring in. And I think in terms of Cyril Ramaphosa, he seems to be very popular with the business fraternity, seems to be very popular with the international fraternity. But when it comes to South Africa, he seems to be popular as a South African president. So when we talk outside of party, a lot of people do like Cyril Ramaphosa, but within his political party, his own comrades don't seem to support him in the way that previous, presidents were supported, particularly in his second term. My biggest concern at the moment is that never mind Cyril Ramaphosa, never mind Fikile Mbalula, there doesn't seem to be clarity or a coherent strategy coming out of the ANC for what is going to happen. What is our post-COVID recovery plan, and how are they planning to capture the imagination of South Africans to ensure that they continue to vote for them in 2026 in the municipal election and in the national election of 2029. Without this, they are not likely to be able to recover and are going to continue to lose ground to political parties like the MK, who are using and are actually benefiting from ANC loyalty to their former leader, Jacob Zuma, and also they're going to lose some ground to the EFF, who seems to have captured the youth market in ways that the ANC has simply been unable to do.
Okay, let's continue to talk about those alternatives, because you've captured different audience markets there that are being taken away or stripped off the African National Congress. All of those then mean that we continue to have a split power base. How beneficial would that be? And does that still give the ANC a lot of bargaining power because they still remain in the mix?
Well, I think, we cannot deny the ANC's popularity. That's why they were able to get, 40% of the vote at the national election. So it's not a matter of whether the ANC is going to get votes, but it's a matter of can they recover from the position they used to be in of being more than 70% at some point to where they are now, which is 40% at the national level, and where they are now at the local government election, where more than 70 districts were hung and they were not able to get the majority, which led to South Africa being in the chaos at local government election level that it's sitting at now, where we have these on and off coalitions with the DA, with Action SA, with the EFF, with all these smaller parties that keep coming in, seeming like things are going to change and seeming things are going to happen, and then becoming victims of, being in government. Because what we're seeing now more than ever is that all political parties in South Africa have had an opportunity to govern. And what this has done is it's shown us that South African politicians do not have capacity to govern at the level that we need them to, in terms of the complexity of this country and the complexity of the problems that we expect them to solve, like, for example, the national hunger crisis that we're facing now, which leads and needs district-led governance in order to be solved. Because it is at the municipal level that food parcels are distributed. It is at that level that clinics are able to distribute medicine and, formula to babies that are dying of malnutrition.
Yeah. Asanda, just as a final question, has the GNU made the chances for the ANC even worse at the next government elections, believing that, well, it just looks like the only way to get things done is going to be in a cohesive manner, but that doesn't seem to even be working at a national level, let alone at local government level?
Well, I think the GNU has been good for South Africa in the sense that there are levels of corruption by the ANC that we were not aware of, that have now been exposed because other people have taken those positions and had to tell us what the problems within those positions were, like, for instance, public works and the deep corruption that was there. But what it has done is that it's weakened the ANC because they are unable to capture and to even claim a lot of the national government leadership that they were able to capture and claim before, because they governed at a national level. And I think for me, what's always sad to see is that there are councillors in South Africa of all political parties who do their job, who are diligent and who do deliver, but they get buried by national politics and the national state of corruption and people's anger at that.
Yeah. Sounds about right. Asanda, appreciate the time. We'll certainly see how things fare. We're still looking out for that roll call happening just outside FNB Stadium. But appreciate your analysis, Asanda Ngoasheng, political analyst, joining us as we speak about the ANC in the lead up to the local government elections.